For a share on the topic of the seeds of redemption are sown as Klal Yisrael enters Galus. Given Tafshin Samach Beis, press 1.
That was an invalid entry.
Well, in the Sefer Pri Tzadik of Tzedek HaKoyen, it brings something from his rebbe, the Ishbitzer, Rosh Tevis on vayigash. Vav Yud Gimel Shem vayigash. Wenn sie jeden schreit Gewalt. Rosh Tevis vayigash. And that's what the Ishbitzer said, without explaining it. The Pri Tzadik offers an explanation of what his rebbe meant. As the Torah is given to every Yid, I would want to say my explanation. Even me, my small little neshama was also with a house Sinai. This serech has two parts in it. It has a Hagdama, a preface, and then the story, a long story. The Hagdama is that the Yidden, the Shvatim Hagdashim, that whole Klal Yisrael consisted then of these Heilige Shvatim. They were in a terrible, terrible massive. They lost Yosef. They didn't know who Yosef is. After Yosef departed from them, they first realized who Yosef is. They felt that a certain Kiddush is missing by them. Yosef was a type of a person that conceals himself. He's a tzaddik. Among all the Shvatim, he has a special distinction. He's called Yosef a tzaddik. We don't say Reuben a tzaddik, we don't say Yehuda a tzaddik. We say Yosef a tzaddik. There are special distinctions that Yidden have. And those distinctions are with Ruach HaKodesh. He is called Yosef HaTzadik, nobody else. Among our Gedolim, we also have such distinctions. There are big, big people, very big people. But some of them, the great ones of some Dairas, are called HaKadosh. Not everybody is called HaKadosh. You won't hear anybody say the Rambam HaKadosh. The Rambam was towering high. The Meirike Greisa Rambam. But he was zeicher to whatever he was zeicher to. But even smaller people than him was zeicher to be HaKadosh, but not him. You don't say Rambam HaKadosh, but you do say Rashi HaKadosh. You even say that, Rashi HaKadosh. We hear of Shloh HaKadosh. We hear of Alshech HaKadosh. And we also hear of the Ari HaKadosh. And also, at least among the Hasidim, the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh. That's it. To my knowledge, that's it. There is a special Ruach HaKodesh by Yid, like the Kugli explains. Even though Ruach HaKodesh Nebuah became battle, it became battle from individuals. But whole Klal Yisrael has Ruach HaKodesh. That's why a minig is binding, because a minig is not made by a takana of the G'dayri Adayim. A minig comes to be because Klal Yisrael is noiheg that way. Minhag. That's serech HaKadosh. And for a minhag, and the halacha is kapaskin and the nochis purim, that a minhag can break a halacha. You have that very often by us. A minhag breaks a halacha. Because the minhag is Klal Yisrael. Very interestingly, there's a certain shayla by in Yana Ishus that's negeya to a Iso Kares. And some paskim are matter a certain situation, and some paskim answer a certain situation. And the Chachmas Adam is from the Matirim. And he gives arguments in his Bimas Adam why he's Matir. And one of these arguments is because we see that B'nai Yisrael aren't makbid on that. So if B'nai Yisrael aren't makbid on that, and main and the Nevi'ah is B'nai Nevi'ah. If the women have a certain hanhaga and a certain halacha, that's serech HaKadosh. So, anyway, going back, I went off on a tangent. The Shvatim are called Shvatim, true, but Yosef is Yosef a tzaddik. And when he was missing, they felt it. He was able to conceal himself, because the tzaddikim usually conceal themselves. We do know what the Gemara tells us, that in every generation there are lamed vav tzaddikim, but they're concealed. They're concealed. We don't know who they are. Yosef made it his business to conceal himself, even when he was a young boy. And the Shvatim didn't realize who he was. So when he departed from them, they felt a certain kedusha missing, and they realized he's missing. They lost Yosef HaTzadik. Yosef HaTzadik is Geula. From him comes out Mashiach ben Yosef. And so it was very bitter, and they felt very much remorse. Now, Binyamin was in captivity by Yosef, whom they thought was Safnas Panayach, the tyrant of Mitzrayim. They thought he's a terrorist. And it came to a point where Binyamin is going to be lost. Yehuda, and this week's Sadra, volunteers, Yeshev Avdecha Tachas Hadoini, Tachas Hanar Eved Ladoini. I want to be your slave. I promised I'm going to have Binyamin return to his father, and I want to be instead of him. And it was a very, very tragic moment for all the Shvatim. Because Yehuda wasn't concealed. They knew who Yehuda was, because we see that all through the Parshas. Yehuda is always the one that speaks first. He's in charge. He's the Melech. Yehuda has in himself the seed of Mashiach ben David. So they lost Mashiach ben Yosef, and now they're losing Mashiach ben David. What's going to be with Klal Yisrael? It was such a dark moment, a terrible moment. All hope is lost. And when Yehuda finishes last sentence, Yeshiv Avdecha Eved Ladaini, Da'ana yal the melchach, ki yeich el bara sheyim tzazavi. That was the darkest moment that the Ishbitzer ever experienced. In that dark moment, the sun came forth with all its brightness. Ani Yosef. And they have Mashiach ben David back, and they have Mashiach ben Yosef back. And they have Geula. Ani Yosef. And the Medal said that this is like a simon, that a time will come in the middle of the dark Goddess, and the Rebbe is going to say, Ani Hashem Elokeichem. Hey, Ga'alti As-Chamach is Gereishis, Ani Hashem Elokeichem. The Rebbe is going to appear with all his glory. Ani Hashem Elokeichem. In the darkest moment, when all hope is lost, that's when Mashiach is going to appear. Right now, Kalal Yisrael is in the darkest moment. All hope is lost. We don't know what's going to be. With these Yishmaelim, we can't make peace. We can't make war. You can't. Yidden are surrounded with 300 million Arabs all around them, all the Arab countries. If they attack, nobody's going to help. America won't help. Nobody's going to help. Who cared for the Yidden 60 years ago when Hitler, when the Saint Rabbim did what he did? Nobody helped. If yes, too little and too late. You can't start off with 300. You can't start off with 300 million Arabs. They're Adams. You see today how they behave in Afghanistan. You can't. I mean, they're not people. They're beasts. Even when they're captured, they're still the same beasts. So, we are in a dark moment. The Rambam complains about Yishmael because he lived among them. He says it's the worst goddess. Worse than goddess ever. Historically, Edom did us more damage than Yishmael. But they're harder to deal with. You can't deal with them. He says they're liars. That's what the Rambam writes. And they are Adams. Can't deal with them. So, and we see Meirabik and we see today. That Yidden aren't attacked by the pardon? That Yidden aren't attacked by the surrounding Arabs. It's Meirabik and Why shouldn't they attack? Why shouldn't they get together and attack? They're Adams. What stops them? They don't care for the world. They don't care for what public opinion is going to say. They don't care if they attack, they don't care for the next morning's editorial in the New York Times. They don't care. The New York Times will say, they shouldn't have done it. It's barbarous. But that's as far as it's going to go. They know that. And even if they don't know that, they don't care. That's the type of the Arabs. Somebody, I think I told you this already, somebody once wanted to go to Eretz Yisrael, and he wanted to say goodbye to the Chafetz Chaim. So the Chafetz Chaim says, but he said, what should I do? But there are Arabs over there, and they make pogroms. So the Chafetz Chaim said, yes, that's a big problem. These Arabs, they can't help it. The Torah says, if an Arab, if a Yishmaeli becomes a doctor, he's a doctor of Adam. If he becomes a lawyer, he's a lawyer of Adam. If he becomes a banker, he's a banker, a para adam. Becomes a professor in the university, he's a professor, a para adam. Can't help it. But Reibish isn't help. Al Kapanim, the Reibish helps them. So Yiyach Sheyiyah, we are in a very bad month now. So really we should prepare. We can expect Mashiach to come any day. Rav Savitsky came yesterday or the day before from Eretz Yisrael, was there for Hanukkah. So I asked him, what's new in Eretz Yisrael? So he says, Al Piderech HaTeva, Mashiach should come now. But right now it's existing Shalei Al Piderech HaTeva. I mean, Al Piderech HaTeva, Mashiach has to come now. There's no other way out. So that's what happened when Yehuda when Yehuda presented himself. He wants to be the Eved, the darkest moment, and just then the Yeshua came in the darkest moment. And then afterwards, this is the Haggadah. And then afterwards, you have the story of the Golus beginning. Yankov and his family go down to Mitzrayim, and Golus Mitzrayim starts. So the Hakdama is the first parsha is the Hakdama. It's like giving you an oversight of what's going to happen, and now it's beginning to happen. The Golus begins. So Vayigash is the parsha of the Golus. So therefore, wenn sie schreit Gewalt. You have to be in the spot. I came across a very interesting Pirkei Rabbi Elazar. There's a matter called Pirkei Rabbi Elazar, written by Rabbi Elazar Gadol, the Rebbe of Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Elazar Gadol, the great Rabbi Elazar. So it says over there, why is Yishmael called Yishmael? There's a pasuk in Tehillim, Yishma Kail the Ya'aneh. The Rabbi Yishmael is going to listen to the Jewish tefillah and he's going to answer it. Yishma Kail is Yishmael. That's why it's called Yishmael. That's a big player. Because the Chumash doesn't say so. Where does the Rebbe Elazar get that from? In the Chumash it says that the Malach told Hake v'kras Shema Yishmael ki Yisham Hashem el Anyach. She was in trouble then. She was in the midbar. Her son was dying from thirst. Shem Hashem el Anyach. And you're going to have a child. Oh no, it was before. That was in the Lech. She ran away from Hagar because Sarah was punishing her. So he tells her, you're going to have a son because of Shema Yishmael. Kisham Hashem Aranyech, who ye pera Adam, Yadei Bakayel Riyad Kayel. Where does this come in? How can the Pirkei Rabbi Elazar say that he's called Yishmael because Reibish is going to listen to Yiddish at tefillah? The pasuk says different. Why states that the Pirkei Rabbi Elazar said a different pshat in the pasuk? He's called Yishmael, Kisham Hashem Aranyech. Because Rabbi Shalom is going to listen to the Yiddish tefillah when you're going to punish them, when you're going to oppress them. Al Anyech, the oppression that you're going to make the Yidden. And it's going to be a big oppression to Yidden. You know why? What can be worse than that? So the Torah tells us an interesting thing about Ishmael. There is a guarantee, there's a promise, that no matter what matzah we are in, whether we deserve it or not, but when we are mispaled to the Rabbi Shalom, because Yishmael is oppressing us, the Rebbe doesn't listen to us. Because that's why it's called Yishmael. Yishma Kayil, the Rebbe isn't here, the Ya'aneh, that's in the end. Yosef Kedem Server. I don't want to go into that. Al Kapanim, so Mamela, this is our parsha talks about the Golos. Golos Mitzrayim, which is the root of all the other Golos. So Eibazai, Vayigash, Weinstein, Shreit Gewalt. The end of the Golos is going to end with Golos Yishmael. Shreit Gewalt, it's going to help. You have a guarantee. Yesh Mekeir V'Yameh. Parshas Vayigash is always read in the darkest part of the year. Because Parshas Vayigash starts off with the darkest moment of the Shvat. So it's the darkest part of the year. It's usually the first Shabbos in Teves. And Teves is the darkest part of the year, and it's the Shabbos before Asara B'Teves. But Asara B'Teves, in a certain way, is the biggest tightness in the year. Today it can't be, but because we have our calendar. But in previous days, when we still had the calendar according to the Eidos with Kiddush HaChodesh, the Avodraham says by Asara B'Teves, it says the Yetzim Hayom on that day, Samach Melech Babel al Yerushalayim. The king of Babel came to encircle Yerushalayim. So it says the Yetzim Hayom. So it says a Davar Pele. That if Asara B'Teves would come out on Shabbos, you have to fast on Shabbos. As I said today, it can't be. Asara B'Teves, Asara B'Teves will never come out on Shabbos. It can come out on a Friday. But this man that they were Mekadosh HaChodesh of the Eidos, it could come out on Shabbos. And that was a long time after the Churban, that they were still Mekadosh of the Eidos. So it's in that respect, it's worse than Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av, if it comes out on Shabbos, we daiche it. But Asara B'Teves, we not. So that some Sefer explains, because it's the beginning of the Churban. The king of Babel came to encircle Yerushalayim. The beginning is worse. So Asara B'Teves, from that prat, is the worst part of Churban Yerushalayim, worse than Tisha B'Av. The beginning is the worst, because the beginning contains everything. It's the Bereishis. And Vayigash is a Shabbos before Asara B'Teves. And it's a Shabbos very often before the Tekufa. The darkest part of the year. The first night of winter, which is this longest night and the shortest day, that's Tkufas Teves. When the season changes, the winter comes in. And that's when the Goyim make their Chag, their holiday. This year, the Tkufa comes out on the same day as the Asara B'Teves. The 25th of December is the Asara B'Teves. If you're going to look in the almanac, you're going to see that the Tkufa is not the 25th day of December. There's a reason for it. If time will allow, after I finish saying what I want to say, I'll explain that also. But the 25th day of December is supposed to be the longest night in the year. And this year it comes out with the Asara B'Teves, the most acute, the most tragic day in the year. Asara B'Teves, which is even Deicha Shabbos. And Vayigash comes out on Adarab, because it's the darkest day. Adarab. So if it's the darkest day, and especially this year when it comes up together with Kratzmach, we could expect big Yeshuas, but we have to be inspired. Because Adarab, in the darkest moment, that's when Yeshua comes. That's why we hear on the Yosef. When the Rebbe introduces himself, in this week's Seder, the Shvatim, Goddess Mitzrayim begins. Yankov Avinu and the Shvatim go to Mitzrayim. So the Gemara says, the Gemara asks the Kasha. It says that the Yidden went down to Shidden and Nefesh. So, if the Yidden went down to Shidden and Nefesh, if we're going to count them, we only find 69. The Gemara asks this Kasha. So the Gemara answers, one of the Tanoim answers that Yecheved was born Bein HaChaimes. As Yidden walked out of Eretz Yisrael by the gates of Mitzrayim, with one foot in Mitzrayim and with one foot in Eretz Yisrael, that moment Yecheved was born. So it's true that you can only count 69. But when he came into Eretz Yisrael, Haboy Mitzrayim, it's already 70, including Yosef and his two sons. So he says, "Oh, such a magolis, you have such a pearl, and you didn't tell it to me till now." That's what the Gemara says. Yecheved was marshal in the minion of 70. In the Medrash, he asks the same kasha. There's only 69. And the answer is the Rebbe Yishbitzer was marshal in the minion. Rebbe said that I'm going to go down the chute of Mitzrayim. I'm going to be the 70th. I'm there. Another teretz is that serech bas Osher is marshal of the minion. Serech was the daughter of Hashem, and she is the 70th. That's what the Medrash says. So they say, that's one of the main Perushim on the Medrash, asks the Ma'ir Dikakasha. How can you say that Serech bas Osher? She's the 70th. Among the 69, the Torah says Serech bas Osher. She's already counted among the 69. How can you say that she's the 70th? So the Ishbitzer answers a very difficult test. He says that she was very big. Serech bas Osher was very big. She was a very important person. She lived 1,000 years. And almost 1,000 years later, in the days of David HaMelech, she saved the city of Avel Mechayla when Yayev came to attack Avel Mechayla because Sheva Bas Bichri, the one who rebelled against David HaMelech, was there. And she handed him over. And because of that, the city of Avel Mechayla was saved. She saved Avel Mechayla. And she went up alive to the Gan Eden. So therefore, she's a very important person. And she's counted as 2. That's what the Ishbitzer says. Which is a very, very difficult term. She's counted as 2 because she's a very important person. I wouldn't say that. There were more important persons than her. Yosef was bigger. Yosef is more important. Why isn't Yosef counted as 2? Yosef she saved the city of Avel Mechayla. Yosef saved whole Klal Yisrael. And he saved the world from hunger. So why is Yosef not counted as 2 and Serech bas Osher is counted as 2? So to understand the teretz of the Ishbitzer, I want to make a Hagdama. It says in the Mare 9 to the Chanevelo that Eliyahu Hanavi is pocket al kol psarei Torah. there are malachim that each one of them is assigned to a certain shlichus. Whenever there's a psaira taiva, a good tidings, a good psaira to tell, Eli Anavi comes and he goes into that person who's telling the psaira taiva. So therefore, everybody has an neshama that has an instinct, even though the guf doesn't feel it. When there's good news to tell, everybody rushes. They want to be the first one to tell the good news. Yankov became a chassan. I want to be the first one to say it. Why do people rush? They want to be the first one to say the good news. Because the neshama feels that the one who is going to say the psaira taiva, Eli Anavi is going to attach himself to his neshama, at least temporarily. And with Eli Anavi, he's going to tell the psaira taiva. Ishbitzer I go psaira taiva. And everybody wants Eli Anavi. So the Ma'ir says, therefore, when somebody has the schus to tell a psaira taiva, or also if somebody has a schus to receive a psaira taiva, they get attendant in them. The neshama Eli Anavi. So it's a very opportune time to do tshuva, because you're closer to the Rabbeinu Shleilim, because you have the advantage of the neshama Eli Anavi. That's what the Ma'ir says. Now, I also want to be magdim a medrash. When the Shvatim Agdashim came back to tell Yankov Avinu that Aydi Yosef Chai, they were afraid to tell it to him, because it's a cloud. People know that when somebody gets a very striking psaira taiva, especially if he's an old, frail person, he'd get a heart attack right from excitement. The Shvatim are afraid to tell Yankov Avinu that Yosef is alive. Who knows how it's going to affect his health from the excitement? So there was a little girl, serech, the daughter of Vashel, who was that Yankov Avinu was very fond of her. So this little girl says, "I'm going to go and tell him. Leave it up to me." They knew that she's very intelligent and bright. So they said, "All right, go and tell Yankov Avinu." So she went. She was playing a guitar, and she came to Yankov Avinu and started playing a song on the guitar and started singing along, Aydi Yosef Chai. And Yankov Avinu brightened up with imaginations, Aydi Yosef Chai, Aydi Yosef Chai, and she sang, and it became thrilling and more. And then she says, Yosef Zaidi, Yosef is alive. She says, what are you talking about? And then the Shvatim came in and told Yankov Avinu, Aydi Yosef Chai, and they gave him the semanim that Yosef told them, and he believed. So he gave a bracha to Serech that she should live 1,000 years and go up alive in Gan Eden, because she told him the psura taiva of Aydi Yosef Chai. Now, why did she live and go up alive in Gan Eden? Why? I think that's how she got. According to the Ma'ir, we could understand it. If somebody comes and tells the psura taiva, he gets in himself a little nittel, a little spark of Eli Anavi. But that spark is with him temporarily, and afterwards it goes away. Why Eli Hanavi? Because Eli Hanavi has been assigned by the Rebbe Shalom to tell the big pseudotime of Mashiach is coming. Manavo al ha'aram ragle mavasa tzayv mashmiya Yeshua. Oyma v'tziyah malach alekayach. Eli Hanavi is going to be the big mavasa tzayv. So whenever somebody is a small mavasa tzayv, he gets a small piece of Eli Hanavi in him only temporarily. At that, and the pasuk says, "Hine neicha sheleich lechem Eli Hanavi, lifnei bayam Hashem hagadol b'noira, beishiv v'leibavi sabanim v'leibanim alavayim." At that time, Klal Yisrael consisted of Yechidim. First it was Avraham Avinu, the Yid. He was whole Klal Yisrael. Then it was Yitzchak. Then it was Yankov. Yankov Avinu incorporated himself, whole Klal Yisrael. When somebody comes and tells a Psura Taiva to Yankov, it doesn't mean that he's telling a Psura Taiva to one individual. He's telling it to whole Klal Yisrael. So that's just mamish like Eli Hanavi telling Klal Yisrael that Mashiach is coming. So just like Eli Hanavi lived long, he lived 12 generations. And he went up alive in the Gan Eden, didn't die. So Serech got in herself the complete Eli Hanavi. She was Mavasa type to Yankov Avinu, who was the whole Klal Yisrael. So she is like Eli Hanavi. So she lived long and goes up alive in the Gan Eden. Everybody who tells a story of Psula Taiva temporarily gets Eli Hanavi in himself. But Serech is different. She gave the collective Psula Taiva for whole Klal Yisrael. So Eli Hanavi was in her for as long as she lived until she went up alive to the Gan Eden. So Serech is counted as two. She is Serech and she is Eliyahu. She's two. So she is Mashlim, even though she's among the 69, but she's also the 70th. So what do we see from here? A double nittel. That it's Eliyahu who is Mashlim, the 70. He is Mashlim. This Inyan that Eli Hanavi is the one who Mashlim the 70 tells us a big Inyan. It tells us that there's no such thing as a Golus Bayid. Every Golus comes hand in hand and is accompanied with Geula. You can go down to the Golus, Eliyahu was with them. He's already being Mavasa the Geula. Because in the dark moment of going into Mitzrayim, there's already the Psula Taiva. According to the other Pshat, that it's Yechevet, it's also the same thing. Yechevet gave birth to Moshe Rabbeinu, the Gayah, the mother of Geula. The 70th is the mother of Geula. With Golus comes Geula. And according to the other Pshat, it is Rabbeinu Shalom. Certainly, the Rabbeinu Shalom is the Gayah. Yidden, by Yidden, there's no such thing as Golus. Golus is rooted in Geula. The Medrash says, At Bash, you know the other base of At Bash, right? So you can tell the days by At Bash. The first day, At, Aleph, Tov, Aleph Tisha B'Av. The first day of Pesach, that day will come out Tisha B'Av. When is the last Pesach, the first day? On the Tuesday, right? No, Shabbos wasn't there on Pesach. I think it was on the Tuesday. Pesach. It was Monday night. So, Tisha B'Av, Haba Lengo the Taiva will also come out on a Tuesday. The next Tisha B'Av, yeah. Why does Tisha B'Av come out on the same day as the first day of Pesach and Yitzias Mitzrayim? Because Golus is rooted in Geula. It's Pesach that determines when Tisha B'Av will be. Tisha B'Av will be on the Thursday. There were 3 days: Thursday, Friday, and Shabbos. Tisha B'Av will be on the Thursday. Thursday was Tisha B'Av, was Pesach. This past. Now, what am I talking about? This coming Pesach. This coming Pesach Thursday will be Pesach. And therefore, Tisha B'Av will be Thursday, and it'll be a very happy day. We're going to have to go already, and it'll be Basas and Olasim. And this Shabbos, we should be very joyous, because the Sarah will be a very happy day, we hope. Anyway, Galus is rooted in Geula, at Bash. With the Galus beginning, it's either Sarah, it's either Eliyahu Navi, who's the 70 years, or it's Yocheved, the mother of Geula, the mother of Moshe, who's the 70 years, or it's Moshe, or it's Rabbeinu Shlomo alone. It's a big P'sayra Taiva for you. I have a few moments left, 12 minutes, 30 minutes left. So I'll very briefly explain you the Indian of the 25th of December. The Gemara says in Vayigash that when Adam Arishan ate from the Eitz Hadas, that was the first day of Tishrei. And the first day of Tishrei is, of course, the first day in autumn, the Tkufas Tishrei. That's the day when the night and the day are exactly 12 hours each. The first day in autumn. So the next day, Adam Arishan saw that the day is getting shorter and the night is getting longer. The following day, he saw that the day is getting still shorter and the night is getting still longer. So he started fasting. I give out, what did I do? Our time is going to come, and another 3 months, we're going to be in total darkness. The night is going to take over. It's going to be it's going to be an eternal night because of my chet. I see that the day is getting shorter and shorter, and the night longer and longer. And he was fasting and being misfollowed, that I should be mindful of him, until the Tkufas Tavis, until the first day of winter. That's the Tkufa, the longest night. The next morning he got up and he saw that the day is getting longer and the night got shorter. So he made a Yom Tov, because he saw that the world isn't heading to destruction, to eternal night. And the day started getting longer and longer and the night shorter and shorter. So he saw that that's part of the season. That's how it works. For 3 months the day gets shorter and then it starts getting longer again. So that day, that is the Tkufa. And because it's the longest night, so therefore, all the Tkufas are dangerous. You have that in Shulchan Aruch. You shouldn't drink water that stayed over during the Tkufa. The kaiches of Tumah are very strong, and by order for Tkufas. In the Shulchan Aruch and Hilchos space that you have, that if you prepared water, mayim shalanu for matzahs, you shouldn't spill out the water if the Tkufa comes in, because Tkufa Nissan comes in. Because since it's for Kedusha, for Matzah, the Kaichas of Tumah have no Shalita over that Mayim Shalom. But the worst Tkufa is Tkufa's Tavis, the longest night, because in the night, the Shadim and the have their Shalita, that's when they reign supreme. Vayigash Yom is called Chayse Yoel, or the Chayse Yoel. Their Zman is the night. You see, a person who is sick, at night, his fever rises. The bitum is stronger, the Kairos the blast stronger. He slept the whole day. He's not tired, but at night his fever rises. That's how it is. Doctors don't know why. We do know. So that's the tkuf. Now, the sun has a cycle of 365 days. When it comes back to its original position, the moon has a cycle of 355 days. The Gematria Shana, of the Jewish year, with a fraction, 355 and a quarter or something like that. So every day, every year, we lose almost 11 days. That means that the Shnas Halavana becomes delinquent with 11 days. It's behind the sun. The next year, it's 22 days. The next year is 33 days. And the Torah says, Shana is Chaydish Aviv. Pesach has to be in the spring. And if Pesach won't be in the spring, and if we don't do anything about it, Pesach won't, so in 10 years, Pesach will be in the middle of the winter, just like the Arab Ramadan. Sometimes it's in the summer, sometimes in the winter, because they go according to the moon. But the Torah wants it to be in the spring. So the Torah told us that we should add every 3 years or every 2 years, according to the necessity, another Chodesh. So just before Nisan, when we want Pesach to be in the spring, we add another Adar Rishon and Adar Sheni, so that the sun, the lunar year should become straightened out with the solar year. So and with Ishbitzer, with that some Chadashim Amalin, some Chadashim Achaser, it comes out exact. But and that's the Tkufa. Now the Tkufa is when the first day of autumn of winter. So it comes out every year at the same time, because we have the extra Chodesh to straighten out the Cheshbainos. So there's a machlokes between the Chacham, between Shmuel and Rav Ada, how to make these Cheshbainos. We pass like Shmuel, a certain cheshbon the calendar. But Shmuel's cheshbon is not very, very exact. And we lose something like 1 day in 100 years. Rav Ada's cheshbon is more exact. But by halacha, we pass like Shmuel, even though we know that his cheshbon isn't exactly exact. There's reasons for that, why we pass like Shmuel. When the tkufa is, it's not communion and kama halachas. Al Kopanim, the Christians used the same, they took over all these cheshbainas from the Yidden. So they use the same cheshbon that we have. And the day that Yashka was born, so the day of his bris, rather, 8 days later, they made the first day of the year, January 1st. 8 days before, December the 25th, is his birth. And Yidden call it nittel. And they don't learn that night because it's a big tumor. Nittel comes from the word, from the Latin word, natal, earth. And we call it nittel, it's hung up there. But that's where the source of the word. And the big tumor that night, we don't learn that. every day, they losing every 100 years they lose almost a day. So a few hundred years ago, there was a certain pope that realized something is wrong with them. They're losing a day. So he called all his cardinals and all his bishops together, and they made cheshbainis, and cheshbainis are hell. They didn't have no computers then, but they were very, very intelligent people, those popes and the galachim. And they figured out that why? Because they're using the tkuf of Shmuel, and the tkuf of Rabbi Ada is more exact. So what should they do? So he said, let's give 12 days without any date. There's no date. And we're going to move the calendar for 12 days. So it comes out that it's December 25th, according to the Gaisha calendar, comes out almost by the Tkufa, every year, exact. And they made a leap year, they made. So it should come out exact. 2 or 3 days are off. Usually, I think the first day of winter is December 23rd, or the 21st. 21st. So this is December 25th. It's only 4 days off. But they wanted it the 25th. So that the 1st of January should be the nittel, New Year's. So we keep the tkufa of Shmuel. Even though we know that it's wrong, but that's the halacha. Until Mashiach will come, when we'll go back to the tkufa of Rabbi Ada. That's also a compelling reason why Mashiach should come, because we lose days ksayt. He has to come soon, because we're already 12 days off for Shamas Chaydesh Aviv. So therefore, in Russia, where they weren't Catholics and they didn't care for what the Pope says, they kept the old cheshbon, Kufa Shmuel. So in Russia, when in America, which is a Catholic or a Protestant country, they use the Tkuf of Rabbi Ada, and it's December the 25th. So when the Russians have December the 25th, by us it's already December the 7th, January the 7th. So that's why there's 2 minhagim how to keep nittel. The Oberland, the Hungarians, and other keep December the 25th, and the Galicianer and the Russians keep January the night of January 6th that goes to the 7th. These are the 2 nittels. It says in the Bnei Yissaschar that he knows a story that when the Yidden learned on the nittel, so a caliph came into the house, a dog came in. Because in other words, he's protesting. What are you learning in my time? So it's a big tumor that night. So there was an old ninig in many Medinas that on nittel they didn't learn that night. In Lita, they did learn. They didn't keep the minig of nittel. But that has nothing to do with Chassidim and Misnagdas. That minig was before the Baal Shem Tov yet also. So the literature learn on nittel. In the Chassidish and the Kindness, but not because it has a shaykhs with Chassidus. It has a shaykhs with the origin of their country, from where they come. In the Chassidish and the Kindness, they don't learn on nittel. The Rebbe Rabbi Yonason, before the Baal Shem Tov, already writes in his Sefer a reason why they don't learn on nittel. The Chassam Sefer was an Ashkenaz. He also writes that you shouldn't learn on nittel, and you should get up at Chatzos and learn then. Go to sleep early and get up at Chatzos and learn then. How's that to do with Chassidim and Misnagdim? The literature don't keep nittel. The Chafetz Chaim said to close the Gemara, you need a Gemara to tell you. On Tisha B'Av you don't learn, but on nittel the Gemara doesn't say so we learn. So whatever you do, you're right. The best thing is do what your parents did. I mean, It's a min. The halacha is you keep the monogam of your parents. But so that's the 25th, and that's what happened by Yosef when he had his Nisayan. When the Yosef Nisayan was, it was the 25th of December. And when the first day of Hanukkah, the Kodesh figures out of the Cheshbon, it also came out the 25th of December, the Tkufa. That was the first day of Hanukkah. It's the darkest night, and the halacha and the nes is that in the darkest night we found the light, and we simmt the lichtigkeit in the darkest night. Because the day of the nes was the 20th of December. So when Yosef came and we had that day in the sign of Ishbitzer, so Rashi says Vahike Hayom Hazeh. Kayom Hazeh. So Rashi says that it was a Yom of 8. Everybody went to the Ishbitzer. It was nittel. It was because the day that Adam Arisha made a Yom Tif, they use it for the Ishbitzer. But when the day starts getting bigger, the next day. So on that day you're not allowed to learn Torah. The Gemara says that if somebody wants to protect himself from bad machshadas, he should learn divrei Torah. But Yosef couldn't use that eitzah then because it was nittel. It was like Rashi says, it was the yom of the Avodah Zarah. So the pasuk says Vayike Hayom Hazeh. Kaf Hayom. It was the 25th. It doesn't say Kayom, it says Kehayom. So Akapanim, this is the minik, and this Shabbos is the Shabbos before Asara B'Tayves. It's the Shabbos before the real Tkufa. The real Tkufa. When is it? 21st? Tomorrow. Tomorrow is actually the longest night in the year. And the next day, Shabbos, is the day of the Tkufa. So this Shabbos is mamish the day of Rabba's Tkufa, the exact Tkufa. And this Shabbos had a happy Shabbos because it's the darkest day in the year. And the darkest day in the year, that's when Mashiach comes. Like, I'm expecting Rabban Hashem to announce himself, Ani Hashem Elokeichem. I'll give you Shabbos.
For a share on the topic of the seeds of redemption are sown as Klal Yisrael enters Galus. Given Tafshin Samach Beis, press 1.
That was an invalid entry.